It's a big day at the Kiribati National Library, with more than 250 preschoolers gathered for this big event.
It's fantastic to be here today at the National Library to co-launch the Preschools Book Program.
The initiative seeks to strengthen the preschool sector in Kiribati by delivering high-quality books and learning aids to all registered preschool throughout Kiribati.
This program is part of a wider engagement that Australia has in supporting the Kiribati education system, right through from primary schools to vocational education, because education is so important to unlocking the future of people's potential. The aim of the Preschools program is a very simple one, and that is to provide the very best quality books and the very best quality teaching aids to all the registered preschools throughout Kiribati.
All up, there's over 5,500 books and educational aids that have come into Kiribati. They're award-winning books. They're exactly the same books that the children of politicians in Canberra would be looking at. So there's no such thing as having, as I think there has been in the past, cheaper books that no one have wanted. They're award-winning books.
5 little ducks went out one day, over the hills and far away. Another duck called quack, 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 but only 4 little ducks came back.
It's interesting to note that nearly all children in Kiribati know this story, but it's been taught to them as a song, not from a book. Ours is an oral culture. There is a tradition of storytelling. Important information was passed on by various means, by rote learning, by song, and also by chant. The question of how different cultures learn is a major study in itself. But one thing is clear. Our ancestors had quite extraordinary powers of memory and recall. But how will this prepare these young ones for the future? With our uncertain long-term outlook, it is likely that most of these children will work, if not live, in a different culture, a culture where reading and literacy is necessary for their very survival.
And stripy fish. So starting children off reading at very young ages is extremely important, and one of the most important activities that parents can do is read with their children or read to their children.
But in the context of an oral culture, this also presents a new challenge.
Some families only have a copy of the Bible. Some families only have the weekly newspaper. Books are also very expensive, and most families can't afford a book. So the idea of reading to children, or just the pleasure of reading, is very new here.
Putting books into preschools is not about saying you need a written culture rather than an oral culture. You need both. Increasingly, the more that students go through to senior secondary school and beyond to university and TVET, all of their training is written. But you don't start that at the end of schooling. You've got to really start at preschooling, and the whole basis of building a written culture complements an oral culture. The real strength of Kiribati is to have both.
Partners in this book project are the Ministry of Education and Early Childhood Education. Funding was provided via the local High Commission.
The Direct Aid Program, DAP, is funded by AUSAID, but it is administered by the Foreign Affairs and Trade through the local Head of Mission and the Australian High Commission DAP Committee. In the past year, we received lots of applications from preschools for resources, so the decision was made to put all these funds into this preschool book project.
And today, High Commission staff are going to assist the Ministry of Education in distributing the books. Newly arrived First Secretary and Consul Alison Smith is herself a former early childhood teacher. This is not her first visit to Kiribati.
And we came over here to assist with the establishment of a small kindergarten, and it coincided with the independence celebrations in 1979. Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal was here. It was so exciting, and it was a very exciting time for Kiribati. Things were going along quite well.
Yes, Miriam?
That's the answer to your question.
The schools were managing. Of course, the population was a lot less then.
What's your name?
The children were getting access to the schools, they were getting access to play groups, and it looked so promising. So people were quite energised to get going. It was a very exciting time for Kiribati, the early 80s.
However, by the turn of the century, it became apparent that this early enthusiasm was not bearing fruit. An extensive national survey in 2007 revealed that education was the top concern for I-Kiribati people. Some 96% of the population were unhappy about the standard of their children's education and teaching. Our young people were not being prepared for the future.
Over the last 15 years, studies have shown that learning outcomes are not as good as we would have hoped. And so we need to reverse that trend, particularly when it comes to literacy and numeracy.
Now, 1, 2, go!
In response to a call for assistance from the government, the Kiribati Education Improvement Program was established. In partnership with UNICEF and UNESCO, it's Australia's major contribution to the development partnership. However, at the moment, the local Ministry of Education's direct responsibility for preschools and the disabled is quite limited. The preschool movement is well established at a grassroots, community and church level, and there are more than 200 registered organizations. Parents either pay a daily fee, or in some cases, the local council makes a contribution for teachers' salaries.
Talking to some of the teachers and the sisters, there's so many more children who could be in the schools. For example, they're running 2 sessions at various kindergartens, in for the first half of the morning and then a second session. So the children's population it's just exploded, of course, and it's all these young people who do require training, education and things, and that's where the squeeze is on the resources at the moment. There's just not enough buildings, not enough trained teachers, and not enough materials. That's the squeeze at the moment. We've been overtaken by the demand of these little ones to get them into school, and they are keen. There's no stopping them.
I love you, sister!
Out of the egg came a tiny and very hungry caterpillar. As soon as the boxes were open, of course, there was great excitement. There were toys and games and learning aids being appreciated by each child here in the Maniaba. A small token, a box of teaching aids, will go so far in such a community where the resources are just so scarce. It'll make such a difference.
Mostly at home they don't have these books for their own children. But now that we have this opportunity from the government of Australia, let's make use of it. Let's go to the library. Let's make use of the programs the Australian people are offering for the people of Kiribati, especially for these young children.
The Australian High Commission, working with the Ministry of Education and working with the preschools, I'm pleased that we are making a difference.
Reading is such a passport to the future for these kids. It unlocks their potential, but it also allows them to participate in one of the great common joys of humanity, really. They can, through a book, travel all over the world. They can share people's experiences. They can enjoy some of the great stories that have charmed all people.